Sometimes I feel like Disney cartoons can be a personal attack. Don't worry, I did not take offense at Tomorrow We Diet, even though I was eating a very delicious piece of cappuccino flavoured fudge while watching this. Tomorrow We Diet basically pokes fun at the fact that people, primarily Americans in this cartoon, but let's face it, it can apply to a large population of the world, eat to excess. And this was released in 1951, directed by Jack Kinney, and we have Bob Jackman as George Geef, who is, of course, our Goofy character. And Goofy suddenly begins to realise that he is actually overweight. It's quite interesting to see the animation for this, because Goofy is, as a character, very tall and slender. So to have him being quite tall and a lot more rotund, it's just a very interesting take on a character that we've seen so many times in other cartoons looking quite differently. But he realises that he might actually be showing signs of being overweight. And I think that's a pretty accurate thing, where people don't necessarily realise they've gained weight until, there's always just that moment where a flick switches, or a switch is flicked. That's what I'm trying to say. And George Geef has this moment, and suddenly he's trying to wrestle these temptations to eat all of this delicious food. There's this really lovely sequence where he's leafing through, I think, like a magazine or a cookbook or something, and there are these very lifelike pictures of different foods that he obviously wants to eat, and in front of him on the plate is a carrot. And obviously he gives in to these, and it turns out that tomorrow we diet, because I think, like many people, myself included, if there is a piece of cake or something delicious that you want to eat, what harm will one more day do? I think it's a problem that the majority of us face, and Disney definitely represents this very well. Now, what's tragic, of course, is that this was in 1951. 71 years later, this is still relevant. We still haven't got the message. But never mind. I think it's still very enjoyable. It can make people think about their health, of course. Watching this is quite educational. It's not exactly a how-to guide for losing weight and dieting and eating a healthy, balanced diet, but it does, throughout it, point out foods that are unhealthy, point out foods that are healthy. There's this one point when the narrator basically spiels off all of these unhealthy foods that Goofy or George Geef is no longer going to be allowed to eat because he has to lose weight. And it's all, cakes and biscuits and cookies and chocolate and whatever, and then just pasta in there as well. I think it says spaghetti. I've never thought of spaghetti as being massively unhealthy, but I guess if you're having full fat mince and cheese and everything, then I suppose it probably is. But you can still have spaghetti on it when you're on a diet. You just have to, choose the healthier options. But it definitely is very thought-provoking. As I said, it's over 70 years old now, and it's still a problem. I don't know if this cartoon ever thought it might solve the problem of unhealthy eating, but certainly it's interesting, it's fascinating to watch. I think it's very well done, quite entertaining, but also could be considered quite serious in some ways. Either way, it will make you hungry because there's a lot of deliciously animated foods in this one. It's a lot of fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. It's one that I'll watch again, and one that I'm definitely happy to recommend.